to the Pudding Pals podcast, where the proof is in the pudding and this pudding is thick.
Rachel hates the pudding. This week the pudding is deep.
Next season, maybe we'll get a new line.
But clumpy. Just like my boob.
All right. Today on the couch we have Alexa,
Hello.
Heather, myself, Danielle, Jordan, and Rachel. You know, we've all had those moments in motherhood where we felt anxious, overwhelmed, or, you know, just not like ourselves. And today we wanted to have a real conversation about it.
Yeah. We're lucky that we have joining us today Kate Kripke, a licensed clinical social worker and founder of the Postpartum Wellness Center of Boulder. But really, you know, the more we think about this subject, we're really lucky to have each other.
Yes.
Really, motherhood is so much about who you surround yourself with and who your village is. And we are so lucky to have each other because motherhood really is so hard, and we've all suffered in our own ways, and we've all been there for each other. And I sent you guys this week, and I just thought it really described who we are to the core. It says, the friends who came later but feel like forever. They didn't share your childhood, but they showed up right when you needed them. They don't drain your energy. You all fill each other's cup. Because by this stage in life, you know friendships aren't measured in decades. They're measured in how deeply you're understood and how loved you feel for exactly who you are. And I feel like that so poignantly describes the Pudding Pals and our friendship. And truthfully, this episode is about motherhood, and that's what brought us together. Yeah. And
I hope everybody has pals.
I hope everyone has pals. We hope you all have pals. And going back to the beginning, if you don't, you're always welcome on our couch. So let's get into it.
Let's bring in Kate. Kate, welcome to the Pudding Pals podcast. We're so excited to have you here.
Welcome.
I am so excited to be here with you. Thank you.
Today we have Rachel,
Hello.
Heather, I'm Jordan, Danielle, and Alexa.
Hi.
Hello. We're so excited to have this conversation.
Yes, Kate. So for anyone who isn't familiar with your work, for our listeners, can you tell us about it and what inspired you to focus on supporting mothers and maternal mental health, because we all need that.
Yeah. So, gosh, I have been doing maternal mental health work since 2005. So it has been a long journey to where I am today. What brought me here out of grad school, I thought I wanted to be like a teen specialist, teen mental health. And I learned very quickly in my first job that those adolescents did not want to be in my office, but you know who did? Their moms,
exactly.
right? And as soon as their moms came into our office and they were able to get the kind of support they needed, their kids started doing better very quickly. And by better, I just mean like their behavior shifted, their concentration and focus at school shifted, their relationships shifted. I mean, everything changed quite quickly when we started to give moms the kind of support they wanted. And then I thought to myself, okay, well, why wait till they're teenagers, right? So really, we know that early maternal mental health, starting in pregnancy, moving through the first, year plus after childbirth, is the highest risk of when women will develop symptoms of depression or anxiety. And we know that there is just a huge intersection between maternal and child mental health. So we also know that when we have a mom, of which I went through anxiety when my daughter was born. But when we have a mom who's got a heightened level of anxiety or depression, her baby is going to borrow her nervous system. So moms and kids can get locked in to that very quickly. And I think I just, I grew up in a family of a lot of anxiety. And so I had a lot of anxiety as a kid that I inherited from my parents. And I've just always been really committed to shifting that narrative in families.
What do you wish more people understood about what moms actually go through mentally and emotionally after having a baby?
Yeah, I love this question because we can do a lot of research online, and what's easiest to talk about is the hormonal shifts and the lack of sleep and the kind of burden that moms tend to carry. Those things all play a huge role, but I think the most significant reality for moms is the inevitable unpredictability and uncertainty that we face that comes right here. I mean, life is uncertain, unpredictable, but when we suddenly have this little human, so now it's not just, for me, it's for this human. Many of us have not learned how to stay steady in moments of uncertainty and unpredictability. And I think that really has, both in my life, but also I've seen from all the mothers I've worked with, is the kind of make it or break it for whether someone's going to struggle after having a baby or not, is how tolerant is she? How able is she to stay steady and trust that she's okay, even in these big moments of uncertainty and unpredictability? Does that make sense?
Well, definitely. I mean, there's nothing, honestly, I can't think of anything more a bigger transition in life than going from no child to having a child. So
And you had two.
I had twins. Yeah. So I went from 0 children to 2 children. And, I know we talk about postpartum a lot, but I had my own experience with maternal anxiety and depression while I was pregnant still, which was kind of surprising. We did IVF to get pregnant. We wanted these babies so much. And then around 7 months, I was like, this is a huge mistake. What are we doing? And I think a lot of it was the fear. And I had a very low tolerance for unknown. I started that was the trigger, and then hormones and everything. It was like a cascade effect at that point. There's not a lot of support for this. Is a huge change in your life. You will never be the same. You're the same but different. I mean, I think people need to talk more about that. And so it's really great to have you on, and that we are talking more about things like that.
I just want to comment on something because you brought up something really interesting. The shift in hormones, the lack of sleep, all these things impact our resilience to stress, right? And when you take the stressors, the biological or physical stressors, the social stressors, the emotional and psychological stressors, the spiritual stressors, all those things, like our brain kind of explodes in inevitable stress. And if our brain doesn't have what it needs to be resilient to stress, I think that's where those symptoms show up. And to your point, they can show up, preconception even, right? For some people who are working towards becoming pregnant. So this is a journey, I think, of trying to balance. How do I take care of myself on the inside, manage my stress on the outside, so that I can show up and be steady in those moments of chaos when I don't know the answer, when I don't know what's going to happen next. And it's a recipe, I think, for us to feel a whole lot of emotional discomfort.
That period she's kind of talking about, when do you consider like postpartum to end?
Yeah. So technically postpartum is the first 12 months after having a baby.
I feel like mine has an end.
I
I feel like it's just continued in a different way. Like I'm just
it shows up different.
Yeah, like I was depressed, I was anxious, but I'm still anxious. Like
yeah.
I feel like it just never went away. It kind of went like this, it just changed it, but I don't feel like it ever left.
Right. I actually was thinking to myself the same thing. Like, do I feel like I'm either depressed and have anxiety, or is this still just from postpartum? Like
She's not far out. You're not far out. Cammie's just
2 years. She'll be 2, but that's still past the 12 months.
I mean, Daniel, I'm 6 years. I'm still thinking.
But that's how I feel. Like it feels like
have
this has
a
just
legit
been like a
reason.
Right. I have a 9-year-old and a 2-year-old. Oh, I guess a 10-year-old and a 2-year-old. So in 8 years, I feel like maybe this is just the new state of being. Postpartum is it.
Please don't think that. We got to help you think otherwise on this call, okay? Because I think many women have that mindset, and I do not want you to to continue with that belief, because as we might talk about today, what we believe to be true is ultimately going to impact what our life looks and feels like. So if I do anything well on this call today, we're going to shift that for you today. But I often call it postpartum and ongoing, because we hear this all the time. It's not like the anxiety goes away the moment our child turns 1, especially if we haven't gotten really good support. Because from where I sit, and maybe I'll just say this now and we can come back to it later if you want, but I think one of the things that I see happen over and over again, certainly true for me, it's certainly true for the majority of clients who I end up working with. If we're sort of a high achieving type A, success driven woman, right? Which many of us are. One of the things that happens is that throughout our life, we have learned how to kind of make the unpredictable predictable, make the uncertain certain, by using what I call achievement brain skills. That's planning, problem solving, fixing, organizing, managing. Those do not work in motherhood. They do not work. They're needed for some things, but when it comes to those moments where we're trying to connect with our child, we can go more into on this call if you want what our babies and kids actually need from us, because it's often different than what we think it is. But we try to problem solve and fix our way through the baby crying or the toddler tantruming or the messy house or the whatever it is, and those skills will not work. And the harder we try, the more like failures we feel, the more anxiety rises, and it really is a recipe for, like, I guess this is just the way it's going to be, which we don't want moms to feel.
We want to know really what our kids do need from us, other than trying to control every situation to make them avoid being upset or unhappy or making sure bored or successful. What do they need from us? I mean, you brought it up, but I know we all could use the answer.
You have
Great.
the magic answer.
Let me ask you first. As moms, what do you feel like your most important job is? Like, what is your goal in motherhood? Just sitting here right now, what comes to mind for you?
Protect. Feel loved.
Mm-hmm. Love and safety.
Protect.
Beautiful.
I was going to say to keep them happy, which is probably not the right answer.
Good. I'm glad you said that. Say that
but
again.
not happy like for little things, but just a happy person,
Yes. Great. I am so glad you said that. Many of us come into motherhood and we think that our job is to make sure our kids are happy and prevent them from feeling any pain.
Which is not good.
That's not true. Oh,
Yeah.
Not our jobs.
Oops.
Ooh, good
Not
on.
our jobs.
I knew it wasn't good. I
Guess
knew it
you're
wasn't
not the
good.
teacher's pet anymore.
Doesn't that suck?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, right? If I were to say to you ladies, in 20 years, what do you want some of the character traits of your children to be? What would come to mind?
Kind.
Confident.
Kind.
Generous.
Kind,
Confident.
confident,
Yeah. Empathetic.
resilient,
Capable.
Yeah, resilient.
capable,
Yeah.
brave.
Yeah.
Useful.
Yeah.
It's true. And if you make sure everything's smooth in front of them, they'll never know how the tiniest little blip will kind of disrupt everything, perhaps.
Yeah. So what we want to do is shift the mindset from a good moms have happy kids, right? Good moms have kids who are never struggling and never feeling pain. We want to shift that mindset to saying, and I don't love the word good moms, but you see me putting quotes on. I'm going to use it anyway because that tends to be the language we use, right? Good moms support their kids through hard times, right? Good moms have resilient children, right? Again, don't love the word good moms, but I want to shift that, because what happens if we put happiness and comfort at the top of our list is that anything other than happiness, and when our children feel emotionally uncomfortable, we start to panic. And we see that as there's a problem here I have to fix. So we go into problem solving and fixing mode. Or there's, I've done something wrong, or there's something wrong with my child. So there are these fear-based responses to what is actually human, right? emotional discomfort. There are these fear-based responses to that. And two things happen when we approach our children from that place. Number one, our kids borrow our nervous system. I don't know if you know that, but they literally borrow a nervous system from us. So if I'm in a state of anxiety about something, my child's anxiety is also going to raise. And from that point, I don't care what amazing parent expert you have been trained by, nothing's going to work the way we want it to if we're applying those things from an active nervous system, right? So our nervous system will escalate. But the other thing that happens is we're unintentionally teaching our children, whether they're babies or teenagers, that their emotion is wrong and a problem. And that creates a cycle of a lot of anxiety for our child, because there's no human on the planet that doesn't feel sad or angry or disappointed or whatever that thing is, right? So the definition, mental health requires two things, whether this is for us or for our kids. The first is that we are able and willing to feel all the emotions, right? So that my internal emotional landscape matches what's happening externally. So you know what, if someone doesn't sit next to me at lunch, I'm gonna feel sad. Like there's no problem with my sadness, right? The second thing is that I have the skills to move through from an unpleasant emotion like sadness back to more pleasant one like connection, let's say. And so if we're skipping over the moment to connect with our children when they're feeling hard feelings, we're actually missing the most important part of mothering, which is helping our children to feel seen, heard, and understood. That, of course, doesn't mean that the behavior that comes from that is okay. But before we even fix a behavior, we have to connect on the emotion. And the irony is that, again, whether it's a baby or a toddler or a teenager, usually if we know how to stay steady with emotional discomfort along to be steady with our children's emotional discomfort, their behavior is going to change pretty quickly.
Oh, it's so
That's the hard part.
It's hard. Like they get upset and I'm yelling and they're yelling, and then I'm like,
My son's anything comes out in anger, whatever he's feeling. And when he comes out in anger to someone else that doesn't deserve it, I come back with, you can't do that to him. And then we're just, So what would the script be for that? I know I need to calm myself down, but it's that I need to work on. But what would I say to him, he's 9, and he has really big feelings in that moment? You know, like he's picking on his brother or something.
I'm going to answer your question, but I want to say what I said before first, right? Nothing will work the way you want it to if you're saying it from a heightened nervous system. And this is like, do you all know like Dr. Becky Kennedy?
Yes.
Do you know Good Inside?
Yeah.
I love her work. I actually think her work is amazing, but people come to me often saying, I'm doing everything that Dr. Becky tells me to do and it's not working. And that's often because the mom is doing it from a state of an escalated nervous system, and nothing's going to work from that place, right? So we actually have to tend to ourselves first. And this is counterintuitive for moms who were often taught by our own family or society that we're supposed to sacrifice ourselves for our children. Please, can we throw that one out? Please, 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 please. It does not work to parent from an empty tank. So there are things we can talk about that might make it less likely that when your son comes home and he's angry that you go to 0 to 10 quickly. But in that moment, we have to lower our nervous system first. And here's another I'm throwing a lot in the soup here, ladies, but here's another thing is that if I have a belief that emotional discomfort is bad or wrong, we're gonna respond from a place of threat. And that is something that I would invite all of you, us, anyone listening, to really ask themselves, like before we're even pregnant, right? Is moving forward, like, what is my relationship to emotional discomfort? Because you all know there is no motherhood with emotional discomfort. There's no childhood with emotional discomfort. So I have to figure out how to poke holes in some of the old fear-based beliefs I have and maybe grew up with before I even can address these things from a grounded state.
I think
Does that make sense?
Yeah, what you just said about what you grew up with just resonated with me a lot, because I think what I'm interpreting you're saying is that, kind of look at how our mothers dealt with things, or, if we didn't have our mom around, who our primary maternal person was, right? And it's now just occurring to me, I had to have a mother who kind of never dealt with anything. Everything was just like, everything's fine, everything's da 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 da. And so then when I finally had this incredible fear and discomfort, I had no tools, none whatsoever. And I quite honestly fell apart. And that's really fascinating, because I never until this moment connected it to well, I had no model. And then I'm thinking, Rachel, you're saying what do I say in that moment? But it's not just like a script. It's not like this is what you say. It's you have to, what we feel in our energy, then they pick up on that. It's what you say is almost secondary.
100%.
Well, yeah, I often think about and I am going to answer the question about what to say, because I think it's a great question, but I'm often talking about what is the one thing that if we do that one thing, it's going to make everything else easier and take less time.
Not yell.
What is the one thing?
Fight back.
Just take a breath.
What's that?
I feel like fight back. If you don't fight back, then
Yeah.
we can make the situation just automatically calm
Walk
itself
away.
down.
Walk
away.
Just breathe.
Take a
The
breath.
one thing is to figure out what fear-based beliefs you have coming into motherhood. Because if we are mothers and we're walking around beliefs like emotional discomfort is bad, or I'm not doing enough unless ... or I'm not okay unless ... or I'm not enough, or all these things that many of us high achievers have buried deep down inside. If we're moving through motherhood with those fear-based beliefs about ourselves, our thoughts will tend to be more negative and fear-based. Our emotions will tend to be more negative and fear-based. The behaviors that come from emotions will be more problematic. And then the results will be probably more conflict, more chaos, less connection, right? But when we can poke holes in those beliefs, and I think the word belief is so important, because it's not a fact. They're not facts. It's not a fact that emotional discomfort is bad. I may have been taught that directly or indirectly. It's not a fact. But if I can poke holes in that, I want all of you to sit here for a moment and just imagine if you truly believed that emotional discomfort was not a problem. How would your thinking change when your kid came home and was sad or angry or upset? How would your feelings change? How would your actions change? And what might the results be that are different? Because we think as moms, I got to do all these different things. I got to take care of all these things. I have to change all my thinking. It's really that's a one thing that makes everything easier.
Yeah, because when they're upset, you immediately, your nervous system just is so heightened, and it's how do I fix it? What do I do?
Or just, can you stop it?
Yeah, it's okay. That doesn't matter. Just don't feel that way, And I understand why that is wrong.
I'd love to see a study 40 years from now about, because I think I'm older than most of the pals, and so I think a lot of the mothers of my mother's generation grew up kind of just smile, move on, they didn't really go to therapy as much. And our generation, we have people like you. We're a lot more educated and informed. I wonder if our kids will there be less Prozac prescriptions? I say that from somebody who takes Prozac, but I wonder, the work you're doing, how is that
usually
going to
isn't
show
that the
up?
goal? I always think that your goal is to send your kids to therapy for a different reason than you went to therapy for. Then you're successful.
Yeah,
You don't make the same exact mistake. We're gonna fuck up. They're gonna need help. Let's just make sure we're there to support them in the help.
Yeah.
I have a question about guilt and motherhood and feeling that mother's guilt. I don't want to work because then I'm not spending time with them. I am working too much. And
I should love this baby phase, but like I don't like the baby
don't.
phase. Like
Yes. How can you help moms either not feel that way, still be okay with like, you have when I first had a son, I went to a class, Baby 101. The first thing the instructor said is, babies change so much about your life. Don't let them change everything. For me, that marinated, I sat with it, and that was my permission always, anytime I felt guilty for leaving them, guilty for going to get my nails done and not taking them, like anything little, I've always told myself, okay, kids change a lot. Do the things that you did before kids so that they don't change you completely. What's some other advice that you can give to moms out there that either feel the guilt, don't want to feel the guilt anymore?
Yeah, it's a great question. So my favorite statement is that the emotion is never the problem. And I feel that way about guilt too. It's not a problem to feel guilty. It's an opportunity for us to actually get kind of curious about something. When we're feeling guilt, there is an assumption that we've broken some kind of rule. That's what guilt is, wrongdoing. I feel guilty because I've done something wrong. So when we feel guilt, the first thing is it's a really great opportunity for us to ask ourselves, what rule am I telling myself I've broken? And there are a lot of myths out there about, again, what do our kids need most from us to be healthy and well, and what is a quote unquote good mom? And a lot of those myths, I don't know, what are some of those myths? What do you think of when I say the word myths? What are some of the myths?
Like you're not a good mom if you work.
Yeah.
Right. Good moms are with their kids all the time, right? Or want to be with their kids all the time, right? Great. And another one that you were just talking about is that you were committed to not falling into was good moms self-sacrifice. And you were like, I'm not going to give up myself in order to be a mom. So often the guilt we feel is coming from some, again, I'm going to use this buzz term again, a fear-based belief we have about what we're supposed to be doing or what we're supposed to be feeling. And so the first moment of guilt is to say, what's the rule I'm telling myself I broke? Am I telling myself that good moms spend all their time with their kids? Maybe it's time to change that belief because it's not a fact, right? The other time that we feel guilty is when we're off alignment with our own values, right? One of mine, for example, and it, won't surprise me because of all our conversations today, but like I am so committed, comes back to the question. I do want to answer your question about what do we say to that 9-year-old, but I am so committed to giving my kids permission to feel whatever the heck they're feeling. And for instance, if my daughter's now 16 and 18, so they're kind of at a different level, but if I have a daughter come in and she's like, stomping around and I'm like, what's up, babe? And she's like, oh, I'm so mad because so-and-so didn't invite me to the party. If I say something like, oh my gosh, really? Why are you making such a big deal about that? Right. And then of course she gets mad at me back because that's what's going to happen. And I walk away and then I'm like, wait, I feel guilty because I did that thing that I'm really committed to not doing. So guilt is there to remind me I have an opportunity to come back and repair something. And here's the fact about secure attachment, ladies, which we all want that secure attachment with our child from birth till whenever, which just means that our child feels safe and secure with us. They trust us. They come to us. They feel safe in our presence. Really, the only thing that they need for that secure attachment is to feel genuinely seen, heard, and understood by us. That's it. By the way, there's, again, plenty of time to set in boundaries for behavior that's not okay. We can talk about that. But if I'm dismissing my child's emotions, I'm getting farther away from that. The other thing that helps with secure attachment is repair, mistake and repair. Those moments of mistake when we can come back and say, wow, I yelled at you and that must have felt horrible. And I want you to know that that's not okay with me. And I'm going to eat lunch tomorrow so that I don't go all day without eating, because I know when I go all day without eating, I'm much more likely to lose my patience. That kind of repair solidifies our relationship with our child. So I have more to say about working moms, which I can talk about, but does that answer that first question?
No, it definitely answers the first question. And I would love to hear your points on setting the boundaries, because that is something new that I'm trying with my son. Because I found myself, like, if he'd get upset, I'd be like, it's okay, it's fine. But then I've started to be like, okay, you're upset. It is okay to be upset, but you cannot say X, Y, and Z. You cannot do this, this, and this. But I would love more tips on the boundary setting, because this is new to me this week.
Yeah. Yeah. So that language is the language you want to use. So if we go back to the 9-year-old question, right? Your kid's angry and they walk in the door, like, what do we say? We essentially notice that we're getting amped up. So we're like, okay, feel your feet on the floor, take a couple of deep breaths, like remind myself the emotion's never the problem. And then I might say, wow, I can tell how you seem really angry today. Is that accurate? I can tell that you're not feeling very good. Yes, that's right. Okay. I understand. Do you want to talk about it? No, I don't want to talk about it. Okay. My ears are always open.
And
That's
that
literally
kinda calms
it.
them
There's
down,
no
I'm sure.
fixing
Yeah.
anger. What's that?
That probably calms them down a little bit too.
Well, it
just
makes
to, like,
them
let
feel
a little out.
supported.
Yeah.
Because, like she's saying, the anger is not the problem. It's
Right.
how you can
Comes
feel
from something
supported
else.
in that big emotion.
Well, similarly, I have my son also has, like, I have one of my boys who it does also get, like, very angry, and I try to remember that when, like, you want to hate me, of course you're gonna hate me. That's okay, but you cannot be rude to my face. You cannot tell me to shut up. You cannot make them destroy the office, whatever.
But even the hate, you can't hate me. You can dislike me. You can be really upset with me, but you can't hate me, because he can't hate you. That's not like a thing.
That's true too. Yeah, you're right.
So then he actually can then
Like,
narrate the real feeling he has is, actually, Mom, I'm really pissed off at you because you're not listening to me.
I'm mad at you.
I'm mad at you.
because-
Be as mad as you want.
Or you're not letting me, eat 10 donuts for dinner. And I go, yeah, cool. Be mad about that. But
Right.
I mean, I personally would not focus on the words "I hate you." Not in the moment.
I don't
I-
really, because
I wouldn't focus on the specifics of the words coming out of our kids' mouths, because our kids do not have the brain development to actually have forethought about what words to use. And I guess I'm just saying that for your listeners. Like, it's easy for us to focus on the quote unquote wrong things in these moments, right? I often say, can we choose connection over control? In this moment, can I choose connection over control? Right? Or can I choose being effective in this moment over being right? And these are things that are really important. There's plenty of valid reason to come back later and say, hey, you told me you hated me yesterday, and I want you to know that those words feel really hurtful. Like, we can go later and talk about it, but in the moment, what we want to be addressing is the feeling. And the feelings that we said, they always make sense. They're always valid. I mean, given the context of anyone's situation, they always make sense. So I do think it's worth just being able to say, let's say you say, okay, wow, you are so angry. And it's not okay for you to use unkind words with me, right? And let's say they keep using those unkind words. A boundary has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. This is one of the mistakes of boundary setting, right? A boundary is you cannot talk to me you cannot talk to me that way. A boundary is I am going to choose to not stay in this room if you continue to talk to me that way. I am going to choose to not drive you to your friend's house later if you continue to talk to me that way, because it's really important to me that I take care of myself. And when people talk to me in bad ways, it feels really bad.
I like that. I feel like I normally put the boundary on them, but it's my boundary.
yeah, I like that too.
It's my boundary,
Ultimately,
not their boundary.
I'm trying to teach my son, you can't control what other people do, because he fights with his brother all the time. And I go, well, you have to figure out how to deal with that, because you can't control what he does. But same with us. Like, I can only control myself. So I'm responsible for the boundary. That's really.
It's one of the mistakes that most of us make in boundary setting. And then we're like, no one's respecting my boundaries, but we have to respect our own boundaries. Like, if I have a non-negotiable, in my family, that it's not okay to, call people names, or it's not okay to hit your brother, or it's not okay to whatever. We're all going to have, our version of this. Then the boundaries are in service of the whole community, right? The boundaries are in service of safety. So the boundary has to be a non-negotiable. It can't be like based on someone else's decision making, because that is negotiable. It's like, I'm going to commit to myself. I am not going to spend time with someone who's treating me badly.
Right. It's kind of like the guilt thing, but I'm sure a lot of moms, for me, I work, but also my husband works really full time. So I kind of went from full time to kind of part time. So I'm trying to build my business, but I really need to be done to get the kids. And then then after that I have to take them places, and then I got to make dinner, and then it's like bedtime and bath time. And I'm sure a lot of moms feel this way. I feel like I'm failing at almost everything. And I sit there, I'm like, ugh, I'm so tired. And I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at the kids like doing something alone. And I'm like, oh shit, I should like be playing with them, because I didn't even really spend any time with them this day. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even a good mom doing this. And I didn't even really make them a good dinner because I'm freaking so tired. They're having chicken nuggets.
You're just spread too thin.
We're
Spread
tired.
too thin.
Yeah.
And, it's like, are you a bad mom because I'm just bad at everything? Or am I a good mom
You're
because I'm
not
trying
bad
to
at
do a
anything.
good
Great mom.
mediocre?
No, but I feel like, yeah, it's
But
your
a
own
lot
pressure.
of moms-
Yeah.
Of like, I'm not,
Why
I
do
don't
you
feel like I'm
think-
good at anything, so I feel bad at everything.
Why do you think mothers put so much pressure on themselves to be good at everything?
So, first of all, there's a lot of external pressure and, again, myths out there that we are swimming in. So we have to understand that the odds are against us, right? Just before we even become mothers. And I don't say that, I think it's really, I'm a big advocate of personal responsibility. Like, what part am I playing in the fact that I'm burnt out at 8 o'clock and don't want to talk to my children, and I feel like I'm failing at everything? It's not a blame question. It's not, how is this my fault? But it's like, literally, what part have I played in ending up here? And I think that we need to understand that there is a culture in a sort of in the air we breathe in the United States. There's a lot of expectations of mothers and women that are very unfair, unrealistic expectations. So we have to take that into account. I also think, again, back to what we talked about earlier, a lot of us come into motherhood with some buried fear-based beliefs about ourselves, like, I'm not enough, or I'm not worthy, I'm not okay. And maybe it's not a finite statement like that. Maybe it's like, I'm not enough unless everybody around me is happy all the time. I'm not okay unless everything, is done to the exceptional degree. It's my job to take care of everybody before taking care of myself. All of these things that we come into motherhood with. And that is a setup, because then we're running around trying to make sure everybody else is happy all the time, which, as we talked about in the beginning of our call, can't be our end goal, right? So we end up adding a lot to our plate and filling our mind with things that actually don't serve the ultimate goal that we have. So I think it's important. I mean, again, I can answer this question in many different ways, but if we go back to that question, what's the one thing I can focus on that will make everything else easier? It's gonna be, what are my beliefs about myself as I go into this whatever. Now, let's say we've done that work and we're in a place where we're feeling like, okay, things can be uncertain and unpredictable, and everybody can still be okay. My son can be mad at me and our relationship can still be okay, right? We can have these sort of sense of like genuine okayness. It doesn't mean we're not uncomfortable. It doesn't mean things aren't inconvenient, but it means like there's no crisis here. Let's say we've gotten ourselves to that place. We then want to ask ourselves, like, again, that question, what choices could I make earlier in my day that would make it less likely that by 8 p.m. I want to close myself in my bathroom, lock the door, and never come out? Because there's probably decisions we can make throughout the day that will make it less likely that that's where we're going to end up, and decisions we can make that's more likely that we will end up there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I have a question about anxiety. So I was never really anxious as a kid. My dad passed away 8 years ago, and then I had my son 2 months after. 2 months. You got pregnant. I got pregnant 2 months after he passed away. But I've been anxious ever since. And do you think that it's just I think it's from the past, but also like motherhood brings a lot of anxieties. I'm sure hormones bring a lot of anxiety. I'm worried I'm passing that anxiety on to my son. I always think something bad's gonna happen, like even with my husband, he goes to the ATM, like he doesn't respond. I'm like, oh, he got stabbed at the ATM. Like that's just like where my brain goes. And but that never happened before motherhood, really.
You sound like a lot of my clients.
Okay. It's like flying. There's a lot of moms. I had no problem flying prior to having kids. Yeah. Now flying is a huge hurdle for me.
Really?
Yeah, it happens to a lot of, without my kids, it happens to a lot of.
Yep, I want to go back to the uncertainty and unpredictability. So I have someone in my program right now who really had a quintessentially beautiful childhood, right? There's no trauma. She was raised by loving parents. She had a fair amount of privilege. She went to a great school, like nothing to report back on. She also will say that everything was fairly easy for her, right? Like she did well in school. She had good friends. Like she did not feel a lot of emotional discomfort as a child. We also know through doing some work that her amazing parents also were parents who believed that their job was to make sure she never felt any pain and was not unhappy. So they were a little bit of that snowplow, like, right? They kind of made sure that everything was set up for her. She had a baby and she was frozen by the amount of emotional discomfort that came with having a baby. And it was the first time she didn't have someone to fix it for her, right? She suddenly was left with the emotional discomfort. And the fear of the emotional discomfort is what took it from sort of organic level emotional discomfort to anxiety and panic, right? Because she was telling herself something about how she was feeling and about how those feelings meant there was something bad happening. And I think that also goes into, again, the sort of idea of like, gosh, we have a baby. I mean, your dad died 2 months before you had a baby. There's uncertainty and unpredictability. I mean, I just lost my dad. My mom died 8 years ago. My dad died this summer. I have no parents anymore. Do you know how freaking unsettling it is when a parent died? For any of you who haven't had parents die, it's so disorienting. So if we're like having these experiences of unpredictability, uncertainty, what does this mean? My husband's been gone. I don't know where he is. Uncertainty. I'm getting on this airplane. Are we going to get, it's just the uncertainty it's like on steroids all of a sudden. Our brains are hardwired to fear uncertainty and unpredictability. So we're going to automatically go to fear and anxiety. But if we don't have tools and strategies to bring ourselves back to baseline, that will just feed on itself.
Is this like just a mother thing? Like I feel like dads don't all feel like as
they
much
think
as
we're
like
I
we
think
feel
it's a
it.
woman
But I think
thing,
that they
not
are also
necessarily a mother
just
thing.
choose to ignore their
Yeah, I
emotions.
agree.
They'd rather like, I'm busy with work and whatever.
I'm
and-
busy.
Yes. But I wish that I was like
I
that. I
mean,
wish I could just.
I
be,
think
like,
on the one hand, being a mother is a unique role, right? I mean, I only work with mothers. I don't work with fathers, not because I don't think fathers are amazing and important, but as women in 2025, when many of us actually have amazing, important things to share out there outside of motherhood, and how do you juggle it all? And like, it's a really unique role to play.
I feel like their fear is different. I guess like they have different.
I can't provide.
fear.
Provide.
Yeah.
It's a providing
Yeah.
fear, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of anxiety that dads feel. So I think it shows up differently, but certainly there is, I mean, we have a maternal, parental, child mental health crisis in the United States right now. Like it is pretty major.
Learning that it's okay to feel those things is such an important part of all this.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that comes with that, right? I mean, it's one thing to be told, and I know this isn't what you're saying, but it's one thing to be told it's okay to feel emotions. It's not bad to feel emotions. It's another thing to train our nervous system to really understand that I can sit in the discomfort of not knowing and still be okay at the same time. I don't have to remove the discomfort in order to be okay, feel okay. I can actually do both. And there are systems for that. There are skills for that. Yes, medication can be helpful. I am not opposed to medication. I think it's hugely valuable for many women. I don't believe that medication solves the root problem. So I think we're still sitting there with like, okay, well, now I'm still left with like, what do I do when when my tummy bubbles or my jaw clenches or my heart races or my breath catches because my son is crying and won't stop, or because so and so is mad at me, or because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? We have to learn how to feel all the very normal human emotions that come with that and literally trust inside our body that we can be okay at the same time. And when we learn that, we can pass that on to our kids, which helps our kids feel more grounded even when someone didn't invite them to the birthday party, or they didn't get on the sports team, or we weren't there to pick them up at school because we had a meeting, right? Or whatever. We get to pass on our nervous system to our children. And so that's why I always say, gosh, the most successful mothers I know are the ones who have taken the time and the energy and the resources to come here first, so that everything that we do with our kids leads to the kind of success we're looking for.
Yeah. You mentioned there like medication. I feel like medication, therapy, and like any kind of emotional health has been a topic of conversation recently. Do you feel that it's true? Do you feel like even when you first became a mom, was this brought up as much? Was this a topic, a big topic like it is now? Because I feel like now you look on Instagram and it's all the reels, like you feel this, you feel that, you know, do this and you feel better.
It's not so
Have this
taboo.
conversation, you know what I mean? Yeah,
It's
we're
not
the only
taboo,
one- It's
and
not
like,
taboo
They
anymore.
used to be hidden. Like if you were going to therapy, it was like,
Yeah.
oh, something's
Don't
really
tell.
I
wrong.
mean,
Yeah.
I
You're
scream
getting
from
a
the
divorce.
rooftop. I'm medicated and have a psychiatrist and a therapist, and I need all three to function as a mother.
I'm medicated.
You know.
You're medicated. Heather's medicated.
Why is it not taboo anymore? It's
No.
wonderful.
No, it's not. But I will say, those of us who have been doing this work for decades have worked really hard to make what's happening now happen. No. So when I had my daughter in 2007, I mean, I was one of the, there's a community of us who have been doing this work for a very long time. When I moved to Boulder, Colorado from San Francisco, no one was doing maternal mental health work here. No one, right? No one. So we there was an initiation of that work here in Colorado. When I started my clinic here in 2007, there were no multidisciplinary interdisciplinary clinics for postpartum and maternal depression and anxiety in the country. We were the first, private multidisciplinary clinic like that. So there's more happening, thank goodness. But yeah, I mean, I had severe postpartum anxiety when my first daughter was born, and I was doing the work, and I still struggled. So I mean, it hits all of us, right?
So what are the skills? What is the work? The next time my son starts flipping out, or I start spinning, thinking I'm the worst mom, I can't do anything right, how do I get back to being calm? Calm mom.
Calm, Mom.
Tell us what
So-
to do.
My answer to the question about what is the best treatment or practice for moms who are struggling with anxiety today is very different than it would have been 10 or 15 years ago. So I want to preface this, and I also want to preface this by saying I was a psychotherapist for 20 years. I am not opposed to psychotherapy. I have taken medication myself. I am not opposed to medication. Okay. But I don't believe that those things ultimately create the biggest long-term sustainable change for people. And that is true for me. And it's also true for, I mean, gosh, when I was practicing therapy and that one-on-one more traditional therapy, women would come in, they'd feel better, we'd do work for 6 months, they'd leave, and then I'd see them again 6 months later with the same things that hadn't actually shifted. This is why I created a coaching container, that I created something called the Calm Connection Accelerator. And it is a system that I believe that worked for me. And I've seen so many women go through, that really shifts us as women from anxious and overwhelmed and guilty to truly calm, deeply connected, and confident. And the system itself involves a lot of the things we've talked about today. Number one, it's like getting to the root cause. What are those fear-based beliefs that I walk around with every day that half the time I don't even realize I'm having because they're so buried and unconscious, right? What are they? We have to figure out what they are and poke holes in them. Most of us are making decisions all day long based on beliefs and not facts. And that is so problematic. It's so problematic because we end up in a whole other direction than we need to end up in.
How do
right?
you figure those? How do you find out what my fear-based beliefs are? I mean, I guess therapy is the answer.
Well, I mean, my program is not therapy, it's coaching, right? So what do we do in this program? I mean, we go through a lot of kind of old reflective questions. It's basically making our blind spots no longer blind, right? We have to actually learn self-compassion. We have to learn how to ask what we call wondering questions. They're not like questions where I have to know the answer now. It's like opening up to sort of this new way of thinking. And in my mind, I think of this as like, how do I help moms shift from achievement brain to connection brain? Because it's being in the achievement brain in overdrive that will lead to chronic anxiety. And again, it's not that like problem solving and fixing isn't important. Of course, there's plenty of reasons for that. But if we're really trying to connect with our kids, if we're really trying to show up as being present and engaged, that brain will not help us get there.
Can people access that system like remotely, or do they have to be physically with you? Like, do you have
No,
is
it's
your
a virtual,
program-
it's an online
It is.
coaching
Well,
program.
Heather's starting Monday.
I know, I'm gonna look it up.
We all are.
We'll link it for everyone.
Okay.
I want to just answer the question though, because that's step one, right? Step one is like, what am I even working with here? And how do I poke holes? The step two is like, how do I actually learn to train my nervous system to be steady even when there's unpredictability and uncertainty and chaos? Because if I don't know how to do that, step three is parenting. How do I now parent from that place? Right. So, but a lot of times we go right to the parenting. What do I say in this moment? But we skipped 1 and 2, or we go right to the like, I have to do something to tend to my nervous system. But even the work of taking care of myself is incongruent with some belief I have about how it's selfish to take care of myself or whatever that thing is. So we have to go in order. Does that make sense?
It's like building a house on a shaky foundation. You have
Yeah.
to make sure the foundation's
Get the
solid.
foundation solid.
That's
First.
exactly right. Yeah.
Kate, if you could give one message to every mom listening who's feeling like she's barely holding it together, what would that be?
I mean, I'm going to sound like such a broken record. The feeling is never the problem. Of course, you feel like you're barely holding it together. I bet if that mom were to tell me what was on her plate and what she was feeling responsible for, I would be like, of course you feel overwhelmed and burnt out and anxious. Like, of course. So I think we want to always start there. And if we skip that part, we're going to miss the sort of like, because of course, what I want to say to her also is there's nothing wrong with you. Like, you are not broken. You are not a bad mom. This isn't pathology. I mean, that's a little bit why I've shifted my tune around long-term medication and therapy, because we go at that a little bit like there's a pathology I'm treating here. Like, I don't think anxiety and burnout and motherhood is a pathology. I think it's a very appropriate response to the stuff that we might tell ourselves we have to be doing in order to be successful in motherhood. Does that make sense?
I feel like what I'm hearing is like we just have to be really more compassionate to ourselves, and in all those circumstances it's hard, and just acknowledging it's hard feels better than trying to fight
Trying to fix it.
trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Most of us don't know how to be compassionate with ourselves, by the way. We know how to like push ourselves. We don't know how to be
Exactly.
compassionate.
We only
yeah.
know how to be hard on ourselves.
Yeah, I can punch myself. I can't hug myself.
Yeah.
That was a perfect
But we can
visual.
do it for a friend. We do it for
Yes.
each other until we figure out how to do it for ourselves. We'll
Yes.
keep doing it for each other.
Yes.
Kate, thank you so much for your honesty and
Seriously.
your heart. This conversation really is such a reminder that motherhood isn't about perfection. It's about just being human. And so we so appreciate that reminder, and I know our listeners will too.
Yes, you've given us so much to think about.
Yeah.
The feeling is not the problem.
The feeling is not the problem.
The feeling is not the problem. But yeah, go ahead.
Tell our listeners where they can find you, all the steps we need to take. Tell us where they can follow you and find you.
Well, first, I want to just say how grateful I am for the opportunity to have this conversation. I think there are a lot of moms out there who don't have a village. You all obviously have a village. I do not believe that we can mother alone. And I think there are a lot of women out there who are mothering alone. And so anytime I can be a part of having these conversations to debunk some myths and help women feel a little less horrible about themselves, I love it. So thank you.
We'll
for
definitely have
letting
you
me.
back
Yes,
next
seriously.
season
Thank
for sure.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell us where they can follow you.
My website is katekripke.com. I am very active on Instagram at Kate Kripke, and there's lots of ways to learn more about my work and to book a call with me to see if working with me feels like a fit to joining this coaching program. And that's all available. Those links are all in both of those, the Instagram and my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, Kate was
She was awesome.
great.
Really liked her.
What an important
liked-
conversation to have.
The boundaries for me, it's my boundary, not theirs. I thought that was important.
Yeah.
The feeling is not the problem, guys.
Yes.
The feeling is not the
Don't
problem.
forget that.
The pill is
learned a
not the
lot.
solution,
The pill is
guys.
not the
That's
solution.
one part
Guys,
of the puzzle.
what am
You're
I gonna
doing all
do?
three. You're doing what you're supposed to be
You
doing.
have to have both. You can't just.
You can't just
Yeah.
expect the result by just doing the easy work.
Yeah.
You guys
do
know,
the
I
hard.
think those conversations are important because everyone needs to talk to someone. I'm just such a big advocate.
I'm
of that.
so lucky that we have a village.
Yeah,
I know.
thank
We
God.
Like,
We're so
We're the
lucky.
luckiest.
Especially me after last week. I am really thankful for all of you guys. Thankful for you, Jordan, for sharing your therapist. Thankful for you, Heather, texting my
course.
mom.
Of course.
All of you guys for being there and stepping in and supporting me when my mental health last week needed
We love
a
you.
break.
We love you.
You
We're
know,
always here
and
for
so
you.
it's. I think if we learned anything today, Alexa, it's like you're allowed to need a break.
Yes.
You
Right.
gotta take the
Yeah.
break. You know, you're allowed to feel how you felt.
Yep.
You're allowed to get overwhelmed and you're allowed to need a hot minute.
I'm allowed to cancel all my birthday
Yeah.
plans and do nothing.
You
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
You.
Wow, I'm
You
getting
know, we
emotional.
have to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's all we wanted for you is
Yeah.
for you to take care of you and help in any way we could.
All right. Well, should we play a game?
Let's
Yeah,
play.
let's play a game.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. That was like a heavy moment.
I'm
coming out of the
I'm
mood.
just trying to lighten it up a
Takes me
little
like a
bit.
while
I
to get
have a
out of the
headache.
moment.
Are these something?
Yeah,
all right.
those are them.
5 fingers up. Never have I ever said I was just tired, but I was actually in a crisis.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Last week.
I think it's
Never have I ever rage cleaned my entire house to feel control. Yeah.
Always.
Oh, the other day.
Your house must be spotless.
Oh, hello. Why do you think I'm getting rid of so many shoes?
my Libby's loving it.
Never have I ever ghosted people because my mental health was bad.
All the
yeah.
time.
Never have I ever comfort ate my feelings with an entire pizza.
Oh.
Well, something a cake.
Ice
I
cream,
don't go for pizza.
the whole thing of ice cream.
Or just like all the food.
Never have I ever blamed Mercury retrograde for my bad mood.
Never have I blamed
Heather
Mercury
lost.
retrograde.
Heather lost.
Heather, you
I
lost.
don't know if I've blamed it entirely, but
All right, Heather, dare to
don't
dip
know
or
what's
spill
the
the pudding here?
I'll spill. I'll spill.
You'll spill. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. We were just talking about this. What's a conspiracy theory
Oh my God.
you actually believe?
Okay, that's so funny because we were just talking about this.
I'm scared.
I'm scared
For
too.
your answer.
The follow up with this is we want to do a whole conspiracy theory episode.
I feel like scared to even say it out
Say
loud.
it.
Say it.
Go ahead.
So my conspiracy theory is that like unused embryos
Oh.
are all being cloned and like made into like a super army or something like that. Like
So this is a fear of yours because you had you had embryos,
Oh
right?
yes, because I had an embryo left
I've never even
over.
heard that conspiracy
And
theory.
I think it's just hers.
well, I guess it's not just that. It's like cloning. It's just I know that they can.
You believe it's still out there.
Well,
Oh,
they
like
cloned
for
a dog.
sure.
They
It's
cloned a dog.
People, there's clones.
I
Like
wish I could clone you.
you guys could be clones. No. I
So
don't
you
I
think
should.
when you gave them the okay to get rid of the embryo, you think they did not?
They said, thank
I
you
don't
for
think
that,
so.
Heather.
For
We're going to go
science.
make another Wyatt and Owen
They're like,
right
"This
now.
Heather is so amazing. We must cultivate her genes. No, I don't think that, but in my like dark moments of fear, I can be like, oh, you know,
Shit, I have other
what
kids.
happened, you know. And also it's like guilt sometimes.
Does
you know.
Google, do you start going down the Google
I
track?
don't even
Okay,
dare
okay,
not even attempt to Google because
okay.
I don't
Alright.
want to even indulge that. But it's
Don't
like,
go
yeah.
down the rabbit hole. Let's just stop
yeah.
there.
Cloning is probably my.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I do
a less
believe
scary
we
one.
landed on the moon. Sorry, Stacey. I do believe we did. So.
All right.
Wow, guys.
Yeah.
This was an interesting day.
Yeah, it really was.
No, but we want to thank Kate for
yeah,
coming on.
seriously.
And to anyone who could relate to this episode, please like and subscribe, share it with your friends, follow Kate and take the steps during her program. And
She was amazing.
She was amazing. And we will see you next week on the Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.